believe in me and you. So please, please don't hide, baby, for what we know is true. Oh, I love you if you feel sad. Oh, then baby, take my hand. We'll go running in the rain. We'll go running in the rain. We'll go running in. We'll go running. We'll go running in. We'll go running. We'll go running in the rain. We'll go running in the
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line at 613-759-8622 or email us your comments.
Catch exciting sports action on Rogers Sports Exclusive, Friday at 8:30 on Rogers TV.
You're watching Rogers TV Ottawa.
Good evening. Welcome to Talk Ottawa. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight. We have lots of ground to cover tonight with our panel of city councillors. The province has put the brakes on Kettle Island being the location for the next interprovincial bridge. The public has now had a chance to see the plans for the western route of LRT. Plus, we're going to talk about Eugene Melnick and his concerns about the casino plans for Ottawa. Joining us for the discussion tonight are City Councillor Mark Taylor from Bay Ward, Catherine Hobbs from Kitchissippi Ward, and Keith Eglai from Knoxdale-Merivale Ward. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Mark.
So let's start with the bridge in the East End. I know that doesn't affect any of your constituencies, but this is, I feel like this is the kind of decision where we're never going to get everybody to agree. It seems like every time we take a step forward, somebody steps up and says, no, I'm against that plan.
Well, when it came to Transportation Committee, when it came to my committee, there was a lot of public delegations, and you know, one of the most interesting comments I heard, I think, was a gentleman who said to the panel that was presenting, which was made up of the funding partners, said, you know, you've asked the wrong question. You've asked where the bridge should go, as opposed to asking how do we solve the truck problem. And I think that therein lies the answer. The bridge is a very old idea. It's in some ways a very outdated idea, and I think we have to look at different ways to solve the truck problem.
So you're saying the question is not where do we put a bridge in the East End, but how do we stop this issue of having trucks going through the downtown core and on King Edward?
Exactly.
So how do we do that?
Well, so a number of people suggested a tunnel of some sort, you know, where you'd charge a toll for the trucks to go through. And one of the things that the panel did commit to as they're coming back to transportation in the fall, that they would look at that option and do some research on it and come back and speak to us about that.
Because I think the studies show that even a new East End bridge at Kettle Island would not solve the problem.
Well, I just wonder, because where are the trucks going? And in a lot of cases, they're going over to serve businesses on the Quebec side and on the Ontario side. So how far does the city sort of the city core do they want to drive before they cross over? And would they really use a bridge at Kettle Island ultimately?
Yeah.
Or would they just continue to want to get through the downtown core? So, I feel there's a problem with King Edward, but I would be your favorite subject. I would love to see a tunnel.
Right. Another tunnel, we should be saying.
Another tunnel, yes. Yeah.
There's, there are other options too. I mean, and I think they bear some exploration. There's other cities in the world that have done things like restricting, truck traffic. Either they pay a premium to be in your downtown core, or they pay a premium during daytime hours to be in your downtown core. So, perhaps you make the downtown core no trucks, deliveries mandatory at night, right? So, there's other options you can look at. You don't want to get into the shell game of building massive pieces of infrastructure just to move the problem a little further down the road.
Right. So the problem, though, I think, is not just what is the right solution, but also how do you solve the jurisdictional issue that you've got the federal government, the two provincial governments, and the two cities all involved in this decision. So how do you get consensus on what the right way to approach this is?
I think we've seen in the past that it's very difficult.
Yeah.
It takes a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a dialogue, you've got to continue to communicate and work at it, and like every project we work on with the NCC or with the provincial government, it's a lot of dialogue and a lot of time, but normally we work, routinely we work things out over time, so.
And from my perspective too, I'd like to see us pour more money into our own transportation woes over on this side before we start looking at getting across the river and serving our own population here. So, to divert money into a bridge at this point, I'd rather see the light rail extended.
Right, but the truck issue is an Ottawa problem.
It is an Ottawa problem, yeah.
So we do need to solve that, don't we?
Well, I think we can do things locally, and Mark suggested some, but there are ways of making it safer through the downtown core and letting the trucks go through there. And I know right now it's a bit of a mess because Rideau Street is cut up and we're experiencing horrors down there. But I think we could accommodate it in a better way with doing different things on that road. So
yeah, I think we have to when we undertake these exercises, we have to go right back to what are the goals of each of the, we always fancy term stakeholders, but each of the interested parties, right? We got to remember that the public, who live in and around the area are interested parties. So are the, the trucking industry or the people who are driving the delivery trucks, and everybody's got a different goal, right? The trucking industry's goal is to get their trucks to their delivery point quickly and efficiently. So that has to be a goal. If you're going to include them, that has to be a goal. But then, you have to accommodate everybody's goals and try and thread the solution.
But realistically, this latest setback, does it not mean that there won't be a bridge in the East End probably for, I mean, we weren't even sure even if everybody agreed to it that the bridge was going to go ahead anytime soon anyway. It's going to cost potentially $1 billion, right?
Yeah, I mean, and funding is always that, the big thing that you can come up with the best plan in the world, but you have to have partners who are willing to step forward and fund it.
And with the province being one of the major funding partners saying, we don't want it. So I suspect it's quite a ways off, if ever. Yeah.
yes.
So that still doesn't solve the problem of how we get squirrels over to Quebec, right? I mean,
Well,
because
they jump in the car and come
that's
for a
right.
ride.
Yeah, so that's an incredible story, which, by the way, is making international headlines. A newspaper survey or a broadcast outlet in Australia picked up the story, I think.
Well, and it's funny, I had an animal rights group in my office yesterday, and they said, it's been really unfair because it isn't just Westboro people that take squirrels out of their neighborhood.
Right.
Everybody does it. And I go, they do? So that was the first I'd heard of it. But yeah, it's nice to get on the map for something. But
yeah. But what I don't understand about that, aside from who has time to drive squirrels to another province,
I don't have time to drive my kids around.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only a kilometer.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but
it's like
who
taking them
has
to summer
time to go to
camp.
that effort? But I mean, it's not like it's not like there were only 2 squirrels in Westboro. So as long as you put them in Gatineau, you've solved the problem. And how does that even? How does that even resolve the issue? You find a couple of squirrels on your property, you take them to Gatineau. Aren't there just 4 more squirrels that come the next day?
With people that take squirrels away or do something to squirrels and leave maybe babies there that will then die. I mean, there's a lot of drawbacks to doing it. So I was surprised that people
baby
do it at
squirrels,
all.
you mean, not baby.
As
squirrels,
urban
yes,
animals go, too, squirrels are relatively benign, I think.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the other things. So I'm not
And
quite sure what the
certainly
mindset is to...
If you've got an issue with squirrels getting into your house or whatever, there are solutions for that don't involve
trapping them and driving them across the river.
Meanwhile, we've got this issue with the barn swallows and the Jockvale Road Bridge, and the latest information we have is that while there are nests there aren't actually any barn swallows, but the provincial ministry is still saying you can't touch that bridge until breeding season is over. Doesn't that seem a little ridiculous?
It's unfortunate.
I mean, I understand they are endangered species,
right,
or species at risk. So, and the ministry has a mandate, but it's a huge project, and it does seem that there could be, I don't know, another way of addressing the situation without shutting down the whole project.
Well, I think the argument certainly is weakened by the absence of the actual birds, isn't it? I mean, if there were birds that were there and there were eggs in the nest, then even then I think there would be some people saying, well, just, you know, we can't let that get in the way. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. But if there aren't actually any birds there and they built the nests and decided not to use them, then how can you
protecting?
Yeah, how can you hold up
construction
for 10 weeks?
There aren't any. I think that's sad. Growing up, I grew up. My grandparents had a farm, and we have tons of the barn swallows around then.
Right.
So it's very sad that they aren't there. I don't know if the province is wrong. I would rather take the chance and see that species go forward if they need the nests, but.
But if we spend a couple of days there and no barn swallows ever show up,
are we
helping
we don't
protect?
even tear down a house in Ottawa if it's a nesting season and people,
right.
You can't demolish your house. There might be birds in your chimney. So this goes on all the time. We are not.
But can you really hold up a project for 10 weeks because there's a nest there and no birds using it?
Yeah, I would have to side with Keith on this in that, there's got to be, I think, a level of reasonableness here. If you observe and there's no evidence, there was a project years ago that was held up because of dried fisheries and oceans federally found in a dried fish bed in the way of, an infrastructure project. So, with no evidence of fish, just that there once were fish there.
Right.
So, I think if you can determine that there's no reasonable expectation that you're going to harm the barn swallows or their patterns, then move ahead with the project.
All right, we have much more to talk about, including plans for light rail through the west end of the city. We'll be right back on Talk Ottawa.
This program is sponsored in part by Ottawa's only all-news radio station, 1310 News. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All News Radio, 1310 News.
Are you an aspiring chef between the ages of 8 and 14?
Well, Daytime Ottawa is looking for you.
Who? Me? Yes, you. We're searching for 5 junior chefs to host a cooking segment on Daytime featuring their very own recipe. And every single winner will receive an amazing prize pack full of kitchen gadgets.
To enter, submit a video of yourself preparing something in the kitchen. Visit www.rogerstv.com for all the details.
The Daytime Ottawa Junior Chef Contest, only on Rogers TV.
My name is Paul, and I work on Daytime Ottawa. My favorite position is floor directing. I really like being in the studio while the show is going on. It's a live show, which makes it more exciting. It's great to work with Derek and Lois. If you watch the show, you know what chemistry there is between them. The experience is great. The support for volunteerism is very strong. And the other side of it is you're working for the benefit of the Ottawa community, and I think that's very positive.
Welcome back to Talk Ottawa. We're here with 3 members of Ottawa City Council talking about some of the big stories from this week. And let's get to Eugene Melnick, the owner of the Ottawa Senators, expressing some concerns about the process for choosing a location for a casino in Ottawa. Does he have a point that the City Council basically voted to consider It's a bit complicated because OLG is involved too. I know the bids wouldn't go directly to the city, but basically the city endorsed OLG's vision that there should be a bidding process where people could submit bids to locate the casino somewhere in Ottawa. And now it appears as though many councillors feel, and the mayor feels, that we should turn around and say no to that process and simply designate Rideau Carleton as the only place where we would have a casino in Ottawa. Is that a bit unfair to Eugene Melnyk?
Well, I mean, I think we were clear during our original vote that we wanted the OLG to ask its proponents to give a lot of consideration to the current Rideau Carleton Raceway, for a whole variety of reasons. Maybe we didn't shut the door on other locations across the city, and I know Mr. Melnyk is hopeful for the possibilities on the land that he owns out in Canada. So. I mean, at this point, the process is really being driven by the OLG. So, if Mr. Melnyk wants to have a real influence over the process, he should go to Queen's Park. He should talk to the OLG. That's the direction he should really kind of lobby in. We're going to have a vote on this.
But is that fair? Because first of all, I think it's. I'm not sure it's accurate to say that you didn't shut the door to other spots other than Rideau Carleton, because there were people saying very clearly they wanted it downtown, including the mayor. So that's not. That's not. Yeah, that's not shutting the door. That's not leaving the door open. It's stating a preference for something other than Rideau Carleton, and now the preference is being stated, not just a preference, but it's potentially at a council meeting you could be voting to say that's the only place we'll accept it. And the city does have some control over that, and the Premier has said it ultimately will be, that the province will respect the city's decision. So Eugene Melnyk can say all he wants to the province, but really if the city says we only want it at Rideau Carleton, that's where it's going to go.
We certainly would not be the only city to put restrictions around where we would like to see the casino go. A number of other cities have had similar motions saying we don't want it here or we want it there. So,
but did they also start by saying they were open to bids and then change their mind partway through the process?
Well, I think we're still open to bids. I mean, it's just a question of location at this point. Any number of proponents can come forward and say this is our plan for Rideau Carleton. So there's still options out there for people who are interested.
But how would Eugene Melnyk do something at Rideau Carleton?
He wouldn't be using his land.
Yeah, but he also doesn't own Rideau Carleton Raceway, so.
No, you're right. He would have to work with them. I mean, I guess there are a couple of concerns about Mr. Melnyk. One is, it sort of came out of nowhere. There was no advanced discussion. There was nothing. If he was working on these plans, he certainly didn't share them. I think even the Canada councillors, who you would think he would have gone to in the first place, expressed surprise when he came forward with his announcement. And I think a very practical concern about that location just generally is, one thing I think all of us have heard very clearly, one thing people do not want to do when they go gambling is to pay for parking. Unless he changes his business model significantly out there. I mean, you go to a hockey game, you go to a concert, whatever, you have to pay to be there.
Yeah. But now we're getting into the merits of his proposal, not whether or not he has the opportunity to present it. If Scotiabank or Canadian Tire Centre property is the wrong place for a casino, that's something that the process would have discovered, right? And if Rideau Carleton is the best place for a casino, then the process would have produced that result, presumably.
Depends what lens you're looking at to determine what the best and the worst place is. I mean, I think all of us heard very clearly from our residents that for them, Rideau Carleton was where they wanted to see a casino. That's what the people of Ottawa largely thought was the best opportunity for a casino.
And theoretically, proposals could have come from a lot of other places. Sure. I mean, we've only heard from Eugene Melnyk now, but there may have been other places that were working very hard on bids as well. So,
sure, and I'm not. By the way, I'm not saying that the land in Canada is the best place for a casino. I'm just saying that there was a process there through which people were encouraged to start developing bids, and Eugene Melnyk, in good faith, was apparently working on one. It's not his fault that other people didn't know about that. Maybe he was choosing to do it quietly until he was ready to make an announcement.
But I think it has
and then all of a sudden the process is shut down, and he's
feeling... I think it has more to do with a lot of the changes that occurred over the time from that vote. And when you look at what was happening in the province, and we had a change in Premier, we've had a change in who is the board of the OLG. Yeah. There's been all kinds of concerns about what was going on in Toronto and different deals, and so there was a lot of concern from our council, I think, and we just want to take more control over it now.
I mean, the vote is yet to come up, and certainly, Mr. Melnyk, has to do what he has to do with respect to his own business interests. I mean, I am not at the point yet where I'm, ready to kind of cast my vote. It's coming up in a week. But, I'm not entirely sold either on the notion that, we can't be a little dictatorial with the OLG and kind of set our terms, our Ottawa terms. We certainly saw, Toronto took a big, from a purely financial perspective, Toronto took a big gambling chip off the table for the OLG when they shut them down. So, I think the tables have turned a little bit. At one point I said I felt like we were negotiating with a gun to our head with the OLG. I think the tables have turned now, and I think we could be in a little more of a driver's seat. So I think that'll hopefully come out in our debate.
But ultimately, you still could have said no to any proposal from OLG, even if they came back and said they wanted to put it downtown or in the West End or the East End. You could
and we're
have,
looking
you still
for
had some
maybe
say
more
in it.
than one casino, and not just say we have to, we couldn't consider Rideau Carleton Raceway. And so, if they wouldn't consider that and another option that they'd be willing to bring forward, why should we? Because in Toronto there are plenty of other places to gamble. It's not just with at the C&E Centre or P&E Centre. They have those opportunities. We do not here in Ottawa. So I think that would have been fair to, from the OLG's perspective, to give us those options for 2 locations if they really want another location.
All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with more with our panel of city councillors on Talk Ottawa.
It isn't a party until the Rogers TV Tim Hortons Community Cruiser is on the scene. Hot coffee, tasty treats, and awesome prizes.
Hello, I'm Sylvie Manser, and I'm the house director here at Banff Avenue Community House. We're having our open house and celebrating all our partnerships and what we do here at the Community House. And we're on Rogers TV.
Where will the cruiser be next? Maybe at your event. Log on to rogerstv.com and find out how. Meanwhile, keep your eyes on Rogers for more cruiser moments.
Please rise for the Honorable. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth? Can you tell the court
Catch exciting sports action on Rogers Sports Exclusive, Sunday at 5 on Rogers TV.
This program is sponsored in part by today's best music. The new 105.3 KISS FM, where every Monday is commercial-free Monday. No commercials, just today's best music all day. Only on the new 105.3 KISS FM.
Welcome back to Talk Ottawa. We're talking to a panel of city councillors, and let's talk about the next phase of light rail, the plans to get it through the west end of the city, which actually involves both your wards directly, how to get it from Tunney's Pasture to Baseline Station. It seems as though we're getting closer to an answer, but not all the way there yet. There are still some residents who aren't happy, and the NCC isn't 100% happy either. Let's talk first about that dynamic between the city and the NCC. Why is this all sort of being played out this way, where the city produces a plan and then the NCC comments on it, rather than city planners and NCC planners getting together and figuring out what they can both live with?
Well, I think one thing we can't lose here, Mark, is the process we went through with the Confederation line, and it's not dissimilar to what we're going through here. We don't expect the NCC, it'd be wonderful if they did next week or next month, give their approval, but we certainly don't expect that. That's not what happened with the Confederation line. Our staff, engineers and planners are working very closely with the NCC staff, keeping them apprised of what we're doing. But again, we don't anticipate that we're going to get approval, as I say, tomorrow or next month or even the next few months. The NCC has asked for more detailed engineering work. We're going to give that. Some of the questions they've raised are, is the project that you're proposing feasible? They want to hear more from us on that. Obviously, we think that it is, but we'll provide them with that information. They've made it clear the door is still open to discussion, and we feel the same way. So it'll be a long process, but we have a history of 50-odd years of working with the NCC on joint projects in this area. None of them ever go simply or quickly. It's not the nature of the beast, and I don't see this one as any different. We'll continue to work with them. We answered a lot of concerns with our latest proposal that was at the last open house. We heard more comments and concerns from people, and I fully expect when it comes back to my committee in July that we will have incorporated some of those, some further mitigation to respond to concerns that were raised at the last open house. So it's a very fluid process. We're still making changes on the Confed line. So I'm not concerned. We continue to work with the NCC, and I certainly hope they continue to work with us, and I think they will.
Yeah, I think we've been working well with the NCC. We weren't going to seek approval. We were going to ask for them to continue to work along with us on the environmental assessment, and they are continuing to work with us, and they're offering good suggestions, and we're pleased for that because we want the best model. We have never solved the problem of this western section of rapid transit in Ottawa for the past 25 years. So we think we have a good solution here. Yes, it needs some further refinement, but we're well on our way to providing very good transit within the City of Ottawa.
There are still some residents of your ward, though, that are not happy with the choice of having it running through that part of the neighborhood.
Yes, there are still concerns about where the stations are. You know, we have a certain amount, 700 meters now underground, which is good, but we will lose trees that will have to be replaced, and some of those trees are dead and dying, but we will be without tree cover, and the tree cover there is significant today. And then where we have the stations, the station at Dominion is still a little bit open, and we have not done the refinements on that yet to see how open that is or what the buffers will be or the accesses for the community. But there's been an overwhelming support for a lot of aspects of this, but we still have some refinements. And the one really great thing is 2 new stations, one in Mark's ward and one in Kitchissippi ward. Those are a real help for about 3,000 people in that surrounding that station to get on the train. And we have
because right now there's no stop between Dominion and Saint Laurent
and
Lincoln
Fields.
Yeah.
That's a long way to go, so people are driving over or just not taking the train, and this encourages them to get on the train at Cleary and at New Orchard. Fantastic. And we have 2 new planned underpasses to get over to the river, because today you can't get across the river either until New Orchard, where there's a cross.
This whole thing of burying it in a trench, though, along the river, from an engineering perspective, has all the work been done to make sure that works? Because I know some people who have far more knowledge about this than I do have raised concerns about that.
So, the preliminary work has been done for sure. I mean, it's a large engineering project, and you can never really stop doing, the engineering work. We've got to do more of it, but what we projected for residents, we were very careful to not overshoot the mark. This is what we conservatively think, best estimates of our current, engineering knowledge we could do. Perhaps we could do better. I mean, we were getting into a game of inches a little bit in one of our community forums with people saying, could you put it down another 2 feet? Could you put it down another 3 feet? Maybe, but, we'll have to do some more engineering work. What we do know is that, from my perspective, the Ottawa River Parkway is a man-made waterfront. I mean, it didn't look like that naturally. The NCC went in there years ago and developed it to look like that. So this is simply the further evolution of a man-made waterfront, and one that has the opportunity to bring transit to the folks who live around that waterfront.
And because of that, we don't know what the exact fill is that they use to fill up that riverbed, and so that will be not something that is an insurmountable challenge, but that remains to be seen what that fill is. It's not rock, it is filled in riverbed.
Just before we run out of time, Carling Avenue made the list of worst roads again this year. And it's a road that's pretty beat up. I don't think anybody can dispute that. Mm-hmm. What is the plan to fix that?
We continue to work at it. We do pieces of it each year. We're not as far down the list or as high up the list as we have been previously. So we're showing
some of it was on hold too, because we didn't know if we'd be running transit down. Some projects.
So we continue to work at it, and we will continue to enhance it and make it better. It's a well-traveled road, and we need to keep it in good repair, and we're working at that.
There is a big section in my ward being done right now, though, as part of the Ottawa on the Move funding, from Carlingwood all the way up to the intersection with Pinecrest, and from Pinecrest down to Bayshore was done in 2010. So, you know, from Bayshore Drive to Carlingwood, done in 4 years. Pretty good.
And we did the Kirkwood, the Westgate shopping center. That's been done. Beautiful.
Okay, we'll have to stop there. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time on Talk Ottawa. Good night.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line at 613-759-8622 or email us your comments.
Catch exciting sports action on Rogers Sports Exclusive, Friday at 8:30 on Rogers TV.
Looking for an all-access pass to the Major League Baseball games you want to watch? Rogers Super Sports Pack has you covered. With MLB Extra Innings, you'll have a premium ticket to up to 85 out-of-market regular season games each week, with up to 50 in HD. Catch all the action from the games you want from both the American and National Leagues. MLB Extra Innings, part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. For only $36.31 a month, you get all this, including a subscription to Sportsnet magazine. Order through your remote or call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today.
Kiwanis TV Bingo is only on Rogers TV, with 4 games every Monday night at 7. Help support the charities of the Kiwanis Club of Ottawa and your chance to win some cash too. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7.
You're watching Rogers TV Ottawa.
With some really worried about that race car. You can see that smoke. So Shelford takes the ball in the replay. Second.
Welcome to the Ottawa Convention Center, the site of the 2013 Ringside for Youth, number 19, Dan Mooney alongside Caitlin Clark. 5 amateur bouts, but more importantly, Caitlin, this is a fundraiser for the Ottawa Boys and Girls Club, and more importantly, a showcase for the local amateur boxing talent that the Beaver Boxing Club has to offer.
Yes. It's going to be a great night. Lots of great bouts. Looking forward to it. 5
fights on the card tonight. The first one, Philip Haw from the Beaver Boxing Club, the 2011 Ray McGibbons Clubs champion, going up against Chan Thompson out of Brassard, Quebec, fighting out of the Grant Brothers Boxing Gym in Montreal, Quebec. Philip Haw, you know about him.
He's a very different fighter, something you'll never see probably another time in your lifetime. And Chan Thompson's a tough kid, so it's going to be a good bout.
Chan Thompson, a relatively newcomer to the sport. He's got a 21-7 record. He's coming into this one with something to prove. And Philip Haw, no stranger to this event. He's fought in this event before and been successful.
Yes, he did win his fight last year on it, and I believe he fought on it the year before as well. So he's no stranger.
Indeed. Chan Thompson, not a big guy. This is the 145-pound class. They are welterweights, and they're going to go at it. Both these fighters have something to prove.
Let's get ready to rumble!
rounds, Chan Thompson. Out of Brassard, Quebec. Big smile on his face. Looks like he's ready,
Oh,
Caitlin.
he looks ready.
Running behind our vantage point here at the Ottawa Convention Centre, Chan Thompson. From the Grant Brothers Boxing Gym in Montreal.
And Philip Haw is in the right corner, already in the ring as well.
Philip Haw wearing the red trunks.
They both look ready to go.
Chan Thompson in the blue corner. Philip Haw in the red. And we'll turn things over. The next voice you'll hear is from ring announcer and daytime host Derek Fage.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to rumble? Ladies and gentlemen, pile one. 3 2-minute rounds, the welterweight division, 145-pound class. In the red corner, 2011 Ray McGibbons Gloves champion. Fighting out of the Beaver Boxing Club here in Ottawa, Ontario, Philip Haw! In the blue corner, the 2013 bronze medalist at the Quebec Golden Gloves. Fighting out of the Grant Brothers Boxing Gym in Montreal, Quebec, Chan Thompson!
Derek Fage announcing Philip Haw in the red corner, Chan Thompson in the blue corner. 3 rounds of Olympic-style